An oversight in the office that manages your tax money here means some entities like the county, city, and school districts could get some extra money. That oversight, which went unseen for 23 years now, means there's $1.5 million in excess tax money just sitting in a bank account. But as Brian Hoffman shows us, some of that money could still be due back to taxpayers, you. And one taxing entity may have tried to claim far more of that money than it's eligible for.
There's an old saying by one of our founding fathers that states, "In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes." While the former has a certain permanence, not paying taxes can have a ripple effect.
Now, we're talking about property taxes. Now, let's say you own a home like the one you see behind me and you don't pay your taxes. The government can then seize your property and sell it at auction. Let's say you owe $20,000 in taxes and the house sells at auction for $200,000. You're entitled to the $180,000 minus any court fees or paying back creditors, of course. That money first goes in to the civil registry bank account. But what happens to the money after that? The district clerk then has to send out a letter to the previous owners letting them know of the excess funds. But what happens when the property owners don't respond is when taxing entities can benefit.
According to the statute, there's a 2-year notification process that has to go before they can turn these monies over. So if the person hasn't responded within 2 years, then those monies can be distributed back, the excess proceeds back to the taxing units.
That's at least how things are supposed to work. But as it turns out, from 1985 to 2008, there were at least 149 cases where residents were either not notified or they were, and the money was not distributed to the taxing entities. The mistake was made before District Clerk Ann Lorenzen was elected, but is something that she's working to correct. And that money could go to entities like your school district.
It would be CCISD, it would be the city, it would be some of those taxing entities.
Steve Van Maitre, superintendent for Toloso Midway ISD, says that funding of any kind is a big help to schools, as they are all too often working with razor-thin budgets.
When you look at your tax bill, the ISD taxes, as everyone knows, taxes at a much higher rate per $100 valuation than any of the other taxing entities.
The funds just sitting in the civil registry bank account were brought up by the county auditor's office. Dale Atchley, the Nueces County auditor, sent this letter on June 16th to district clerk asking her to deposit over $571,000 into the county treasury by July 1st, using this spreadsheet his office compiled of old excess proceeds. It claims that the county is owed that $571,000, with the city getting just a little over 10 grand. The big issue some of you may be pointing out is the obvious lack of any other taxing entities. What the county is owed is actually closer to 30 to 33%, or a little over $188,000. Lorenzen did not comply with the county's request.
Ms. Fuentes tried to say that that Dale and her would have our backs if anything happened, and we went, no.
In a written statement to 6 Investigates, Atchley wrote in part, quote, "We have asserted a total amount of excess proceeds, not the amount due solely to Nueces County. That total amount is from records previously provided, equaling the total amount of excess proceeds. The amount due to each taxing entity is still to be determined," end quote.
On the surface, it certainly seems to me, with the limited information that I have, that there's an overreach there. And that concerns me.
To be fair, this could have been a misunderstanding of the property tax code by the county auditor, a mistake that could have cost school districts hundreds of thousands of dollars they desperately need.
At TM, if we don't receive additional funding, there will be programs that will certainly be on the chopping block. This wouldn't solve the issue, but it certainly would help.
For now, the funds remain inside the civil registry. That is until government officials find out exactly what percentage each taxing entity will get of that tax windfall. The district clerk did tell me, however, it will take a while for her already strained staff to get through the years of cases. For 6 Investigates, Brian Hoffman.
District Clerk Ann Lawrenson tells us that it will take her office 6 months to review those cases, and while it's not Kevin Kieschnick's job to help resolve that issue, he says that he will help the county fix it. Lawrenson also tells us that if homeowners have not been notified of those excess funds exist, given the length of time that has lapsed, her office will not send notices out. But it will seek the opinion of a district court judge to either release funds or determine if notice must be sent. And as always, we'll of course stay on top of the story for you and bring you updates when we have them.